Hello dear students, welcome back all of you to the physics online class. So we are studying the chapter atoms. In the previous videos we discussed up to the Rutherford's atomic model and its drawbacks, and there we came to know that the Rutherford experiment, the Rutherford's atomic model is failed to explain the stability of the atom, and it also failed to explain why the electron, that means the atoms can emit the radiate in the discrete wavelengths. There also it is failed to explain. And also, so in the case of the spectral series, if you talk about the spectral series, that could not be explained with the Rutherford's atomic model. Therefore, that are called as the limitations of the Rutherford's atomic model. Then after the Rutherford, who given the atomic nature and the atomic model means, that is Neil Bohr. The scientist Neil Bohr, so given the idea and the postulates about the atomic model. Therefore, next model we are going to study is Bohr's atom model. What model? Bohr's atom model. Remember dear students, these Bohr's postulates, actually the scientist Neil Bohr have given 3 different postulates, right, and every postulate has its own meaning. That postulates are very important for the point of examination. If the question comes for the 2 mark, mention the 2 postulates of the Bohr's atomic model, minimum 2 you need to write. And if they ask generally for the 3 marks, write the postulates of the write the postulates of the Bohr's atom model, means all the 3 postulates we need to write. Okay. Then what is the first postulate? This is important for the point of exam. Okay. And the headings are postulates. First postulate is every electron can revolve around the nucleus in a certain orbit. So the first postulate of the Bohr's atom model gives that every electron can revolve around the nucleus in a certain fixed orbit, and that certain fixed orbit will have the total energy. So that energy is non-radiating, that certain fixed orbits are called as the stationary orbits. What they are called? Certain fixed orbits along which the electron can revolve around the nucleus are called as the stationary orbits. Yes, and these are also called, these orbits having a fixed value of the energy, therefore they are called as the non-radiating orbits. They are also called as non-radiating because they do not radiate the energy. Non-radiating orbits. Am I clear? Yes, stationary orbits or the non-radiating orbits means what? Every electron can revolve around the nucleus in a certain fixed orbits. That fixed orbits are called stationary orbits, and that orbits that do not radiate the energy, therefore they are called as the non-radiating orbits. Okay. Then second postulate is the angular momentum of an electron, revolving around the nucleus, is integral multiple of h upon 2 pi. The second postulate states that of the Bohr's atom model, the angular momentum of an electron revolving around the nucleus is integral multiple of h by 2. It is given by integral multiple of h by 2. Then how to represent that with the mathematical expression? The second postulate can give me the idea about the angular momentum of the electron. And remember, the second postulate is also called Bohr's quantum condition. What it is called? The second postulate can also be given as the Bohr's quantum condition. Why it is called Bohr's quantum condition? Because here the conservation of the angular momentum, and that angular momentum can be expressed with the help of the integral multiple of h by 2 pi. Therefore, in the previous class, that means in the first year, we discussed about the angular momentum. The angular momentum L can be given as, the angular momentum L is given by the formula R cross P. Can you remember this? It is a cross product of the perpendicular distance and the linear momentum. And linear momentum means we also know that is linear momentum P is equal to mass into velocity. That is, hence the L is equal to RmV, or I can write angular momentum is equal to mvr. Okay, and this angular momentum, according to the Bohr's second postulate, that is equal to integral multiple. Integral means what comes there? N will come. So, integral multiple of h upon 2 pi here. Am I right? So, therefore, by this we can write that this is here, what is the n? N means a quantum number. It is a quantum number. And what is the h here? H is the Planck's constant, and its value we know already, that is 6.67 into 10 raised to minus 34 joules second. And here V is the velocity of the electron. Velocity of electron. M is mass of electron. Mass of electron. And next R is the radius of the orbit. R is radius of orbit in which the electron is revolving. Am I clear? Yes. So, this is the, hence here what it is called Bohr's quantum condition. N is also called Bohr's quantum condition. And the last postulate of Bohr's atom model is an electron might be taken, the electron might be taken a transition from higher energy level to the lower energy level. Yes. So, when the electron, it is revolving in the orbit. See, let us consider this is the lower energy level. Let us call it as the energy of that level is E1, and this is a higher energy level, that is of energy E2, right. And when electron take the jump from, or it take a transition, make a transition from higher energy state to the lower energy state, during the transition a photon of the energy h nu is emitted. Remember, when the electron jumps from higher energy state to the lower energy state, or make a transition from higher energy level to the lower energy level, during its transition a photon of the energy h nu is radiated. Yes, and that photon energy h nu can be given by the energy difference between the photon energy. So during this what happens here, a photon will be emitted or radiated. So then that photon will be having energy is equal to E is equal to h nu. That energy h nu can given by the energy difference between the two levels. Am I clear? Yes. So these are the three very important postulates of the Bohr's atom model. The first postulate gives an idea about the stationary orbits or non-radiating orbits, right. So what it gives? An electron can revolve, or every electron will revolve around the nucleus in a certain fixed orbits. That fixed orbits are called stationary orbits, and they have a fixed, so total energy. That energy is not radiating, therefore they are also called non-radiating orbits. Okay. Then second one, the angular momentum of an electron revolving around the nucleus is given by integral multiple of h by 2 pi. Yes, here n is the quantum number, therefore the second postulate of the Bohr's atom model can also given that Bohr's quantum condition. Okay. And here the last postulate is when electron jumps from higher energy to lower energy level, or make a transition from higher to the lower energy level, there is release of the photon, that photon energy is given by energy difference between the two levels, right. Am I clear? Okay. So then see dear, these are the postulates, but along with this Bohr also failed to explain few of the concept about the spectral lines. Okay. So therefore now we need to study about the limitations of Bohr's atomic model also. Limitations of Bohr's atomic model. Yes. See, these will explain about the positive of that postulates of the model, but few of that will not be, that could not be explained with the help of the Bohr's model, that are called as the limitations of the Bohr's atomic model. Then what is the first limitation in the Bohr's model? Remember, Bohr's model, this concept whatever he explained in his atom model is applicable only to the hydrogen and the hydrogen like atoms. Are you getting my point? So these postulates what he given in his theory, that are applicable only to the hydrogen and hydrogen like atoms. Hydrogen like atoms means what are those? So that only it is applicable to hydrogen and hydrogen like atom. Hydrogen like means helium plus 1 and lithium plus 2, these are hydrogen like atoms. That means that atoms should also have only one proton. Okay. So that are only applicable. Then second limitation is Bohr's model failed to explain the spectral series, that is intensity of the spectral series. Bohr's model failed to explain the intensity of spectral series. Because in every series it consists many of the spectral lines, then every spectral line will be having its own intensity. That intensity could not be explained with the help of the Bohr's atomic model. So it failed to explain the intensity of the spectral lines or spectral series. Okay. Then one more limitation of Bohr's model is here. So Bohr's model could not explain the elliptical nature of the orbit in which the electron can revolve. Of course, what we discussed here, electron is revolving in a stationary orbit. Yes, actually what is the shape of that orbit according to the Bohr's model? They are in a circular shape, but they are actually elliptical in a nature. The elliptical nature of the orbit could not be explained with the help of the Bohr's atomic model. There also it is failed. Okay. So, that is also the limitation. And one more last what I can give, it is applicable only to the hydrogen. That means it failed to explain the atomic model of the complex compounds. For a complex compounds or the ions, complex ions or compounds and compounds could not be explained with the help of the Bohr's atomic model. Am I clear, dear students? Yes. So, these are what the postulates and the limitations, and these limitations are also called as drawbacks of the atomic model. Okay. Then see, now let us move to the very important derivation of the chapter, that is actually here 3 derivations we are going to get. One is finding or expression for the radius of the nth orbit, that may be asked for 3 marks, and second derivation is the total energy of the electron in the nth orbit, that is may be asked for the 5 marks, and another one is the velocity formula, the frequency and the velocity of the electron that is revolving in the stationary orbit. These are the 3 expressions we are deriving in this chapter. In that all the radius and velocity that are may be asked for 3 marks, but energy related will be asked for the 5 marks, right. Now, let us derive the expression for radius of the nth orbit using Bohr's atomic model. Now, we are going to derive the expression for radius of the nth orbit by using Bohr's atomic model. This is important for the 3 or the 5 mark. Okay. Expression for radius of nth orbit in which electron can revolve using Bohr's atom model. So, to derive that expression we are using the Bohr's atom model. Yes. What is the consideration here? For the explanation, let us consider here there is an atom and it consists one proton. Yes. So, we are considering this, the question may be also asked like this, consider there is, derive an expression for radius of the nth orbit in a hydrogen atom also. They may ask in a hydrogen atom using Bohr's atomic model. Yes, hydrogen means how much proton, how much electron present in that? Only one proton and one electron present in the hydrogen atom. Yes, let us take that only. So, inside the nucleus one proton and here one electron is revolving around the nucleus. As we know, the nucleus having positive charge, electron having the negative charge, right. Consideration, consider an electron revolving around the nucleus in the nth orbit, an electron revolving around the nucleus in the nth orbit of hydrogen atom which has one proton, one neutron. Yes, let Rn be the radius of the nth orbit. Here what we taken, Rn is considered the radius of nth orbit, right. So, then now our aim is to derive the expression for the radius of the nth orbit. So, we have to bring the formula for the radius. Then here what concept we are applying? Actually when an object or the particle is moving in the circular path, we know that there is a centripetal force. There is a centripetal force. And in the case of electron or in an atom, the centripetal force between electron and the nucleus is provided by the electrostatic force of attraction between electron and the nucleus. Am I clear? So, in a condition when object is moving in a circular path, there is a centripetal force, and in this case the centripetal force is provided by the electrostatic force of attraction between electron and the nucleus. Therefore, I could write here the centripetal force, or else I can write first like this only, centripetal force is equal to electrostatic force of attraction. Yes, and here we know that centripetal force means I can write here it is a Fc, and this is electrostatic force means Fe, right. And from our lower classes we know the formula for centripetal force, that is, if a particle having a mass m, velocity v and the radius of the orbit is r, then centripetal force is given by mv square upon r here, mv square by r. Here the orbit is having a radius, that is the orbit number is n, therefore I am writing the radius of that orbit is Rn, nth radius of the nth orbit. It is equal to electrostatic force. What is the Coulomb's formula here? So we know that charge of the electron is also E here. Charge of the proton is also how much? Here if you take minus E, then charge of the proton will come plus E, because so we know that the charge of the proton and charge of the proton is positive, electron is negative, but the magnitude is same only. Therefore, by this formula E square upon 4 pi epsilon naught, I can write here 4 pi epsilon naught Rn square. This is my Coulomb's force of attraction between the two oppositely charged particles, right. Then here one R1 and here one Rn will get cancelled. What is the remaining now? mv square is equal to E square upon 4 pi epsilon naught. 4 pi epsilon naught Rn is the remaining. Am I clear? Yes. So call it is the equation number 1 here. Call it is equation number 1. First expression clear ide ellarigu, right. So consideration baribeku, alli modalige consider madu point yavudri, centripetal force is equal to electrostatic force of attraction, and we have their formula, respective formula. Simplify that, then m square is equal to E square upon 4 pi epsilon naught Rn. Okay. Now we apply Bohr's second postulate using Bohr's second postulate. What is the second postulate statement? It given that the angular momentum of an electron in the nth orbit can be given by integral multiple of h upon 2 pi, that is given by integral multiple of h upon 2 pi. And by using this second postulate, now I want to derive the formula for the V here. Yes, and from this I can write V is equal to NH upon 2 pi into m Rn. Shall I write? Because here V I want to derive, keep V here only, this Rn is taken denominator and m also will come to the denominator, therefore V will come nh upon 2 pi m into Rn. Right? Now let us substitute this V in the equation 1 here. This we are substituting in the equation 1, where V is there, there we want to substitute this value. Substitute in equation 1, we get, right. So what is there? M into, in the place of V let us substitute nh upon 2 pi m Rn whole square. It is equal to E square upon 4 pi epsilon naught, 4 pi epsilon naught into Rn. Okay, simplify this square, that is m n square h square, m square n square h square upon 4 pi square m square Rn square. Yes, this term all becomes square now. Then here E square as it is, 4 pi epsilon naught into Rn, right. Here 4 pi, 1 pi get cancelled, here 1 m get cancelled, so Rn get cancelled. So what are the remaining terms now? N square h square upon pi m Rn, pi m Rn is equal to E square upon epsilon naught. Am I right? So now I want to bring the expression for the radius of the nth orbit. Therefore, rearrange the terms here. This is cross multiplied here and Rn is cross multiplied here, and after the simplification we have n square h square pi m, n square h square, and this epsilon naught is multiplied here. Okay, and here pi m, this E square is taken here, then Rn will be this formula. And if you want to write it simplest, that is Rn is equal to n square h square epsilon naught upon pi m E square. This is my very important expression for the radius of the nth orbit of hydrogen atom. See, this is the radius of the nth orbit general. If you want to write for a particular the first orbit, if you want to write this expression for the first orbit, then compulsorily n value what you need to take? N is taken to be 1 here for the first orbit, that is called Bohr's radius. Remember, so if this expression only will be continued here for n is equal to 1, and if particularly hydrogen atom is asked there, compulsorily here one you have to take that Ze square should be taken, because for the proton what we are taking, Ze is the charge we are considering, right, and for the electron commonly E only. So in place of that you have to write here Z if particularly hydrogen atom is taken. If the general condition is asked, you can leave it and you can bring up to here only, no problem. Yes, and therefore now I want to write that particularly for hydrogen only. This is a general condition what I have derived. Yes, and I can write here for hydrogen atom, for hydrogen atom, the radius of the nth orbit Rn can be given as n square h square epsilon naught pi m z E square, where z is equal to 1. Let us substitute here z is equal to 1. Then for that n square h square epsilon naught, same formula, pi m e square will come. Then again for the orbit, first orbit if we want to write, then now I can substitute for the first orbit, that is n value is equal to 1. So, here it comes r1. r1 is equal to how much? That is 1 square means 1 only, h square epsilon naught pi m e square, pi m e square. So, in the case of general condition, you can substitute here z only, let us take now, and here we can write with the z e square. Particularly when you take the hydrogen, then z equal to 1, let us substitute and simplify that as a n h square epsilon upon pi, so m e square, and for the first orbit n will be 1. So, in the first orbit, what is the radius formula? That is r1 is equal to h square epsilon naught upon pi m e square. And remember dear students, if you substitute the value of Planck's constant, permittivity of free space, pi value, mass of electron and charge of electron, that value will be reduced. So, this is called, the first orbit radius is called Bohr's radius. This is called Bohr's radius. Okay. And here, so if you consider this formula, here you can see the remaining these all quantities are a constant only. Yes. Then if these all are taken constant, the r is directly proportional to what? The r, the radius of the orbit, nth orbit, directly proportional to the quantum number of the orbit. Yes, if n equal to 1, then r1 is 1 only. If n is equal to 2, r2 will be twice of the first one. So, like this, so expression of the radius of the nth orbit of, so general form, and also for particularly hydrogen atom we can derive. Yes, I hope dear student you understood all the steps involved in this derivation, right. So, practice them more and keep on writing. Thank you for watching this video.